What exactly is a skill build? Simple, right? Now, firstly, no making fun of the old man robe. It's bloody freezing. Alright, I'm getting old. Secondly, this is my attempt at being thought-provoking. I'm not actually trying to be a dick here or aim this at anyone. So what exactly is a skill build? And for those of you that are going to outright say skill tier 6, or at least a variety of skill tiers, I would like to introduce you to my Ferrari. It's just a donkey with a Ferrari badge on it. That's all it is. It's a donkey with a Ferrari badge. Just because I've put a Ferrari badge on it doesn't actually make it a Ferrari. It's still a donkey. Might be a really expensive donkey, but it's still a donkey. Now I ask this because this is technically the strongest skill build in the game at the moment. 4-piece strikers, 2-piece Brazos with Technician. We're getting a skill tier from Technician, 1 from the 2-piece Brazos, and then we're getting another 2 from the actual Brazos pieces itself, which puts us to skill tier 4, and then having 2 striker pieces rolled to yellow also gives us skill tier 6. Now, this might all seem great for those that are like, oh my god, yes, a skill build, like the most OP skill build going. Bearing in mind, obviously, Ouroboros as well. However, now the DPS for this build is as follows. The equation. The average DPS for the weapon is 10 million, whereas the average DPS for the skills is 2.4 million. This means that percentage you can see just below total, the weapon is doing 305% more than what the skills are actually capable of, which is comical. Now, due to this very large difference, I would argue that this is not a skill build. It is in fact just a DPS build. A bad one, well, I say a bad one. Total being 13 million DPS is pretty much equivalent to most high-end builds. So it's not necessarily bad, it's just compared to what you can do with Ouroboros and Strikers, which is about 24 million DPS, yeah, I would say this is technically bad. However, defining skill builds on the gap between how much damage the weapon does versus how much the skills do also leads to a problem. The build on screen now, as well as the build I'm using in the background footage, is classically known as the bro build. It's a build that came up, or at least the first person I know that came up with it was Rise of Brutality, my clan leader. Shout out to the bro squad, as well as especially Rise. Now, even with this build, the DPS of the weapon far exceeds the skills. However, the difference is only 54%. For me, personally, what defines a skill build is the pieces. What we actually have within the bro build are very much skill orientated pieces. We have 2-piece Brazos. This gives skill haste as well as a skill tier. We then have 3-piece Empress, which is skill health, skill damage, and skill efficiency. All we've actually done to turn this skill build into a more hybrid skill build, because there's going to be a lot of people that say the word hybrid throughout this, is we've foregone skill haste. We get enough of that from Memento. We've foregone skill haste, and we've replaced that skill haste with crit rolls, whether it be crit chance or crit damage. Now, I bring this up because of a very simple issue. I see a lot of this. Now, I've hidden the rolls and I've hidden the main weapon because they give it away, but if I was to show you this, 3-piece Providence, 1 Fenris, 1 Cheska, Coyote's Mask. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Now, if you sit there and say skill build, I'll have what you're having. See, annoyingly, I'm very much the sort of, if it looks like a skill build, it's a skill build. If it looks like a bear, it's a bear. If it looks like a friggin' ant, it's an ant. Pretty easy scenario. So if I showed you that, you are most likely going to go, that's a DPS build. Why? Because 3-piece Providence, DPS. Fenris, AR damage, DPS. Cheska, crit chance, DPS. It's a DPS build, right? No. Apparently it's not. This is advertised as like one of the strongest skill builds in the game. It's not even like halfway there, but it's advertised as such, and It is literally just a poor imitation of a DPS build that someone can't even figure out. So now it's thrown my entire perspective of builds into whack because apparently this is a skill build. I wouldn't even call it a hybrid build. It is just a bad build. The overall difference between the skills and the weapons is like 112%. Like, I don't get it. I really don't. You've even got glass cannon, which perfect glass cannon more specifically, which affects both skills and weapon damage. Well, it affects everything quite literally. But you've then got vigilance, which is just pure weapon DPS. There's basically zero benefit on that build to your skills other than the skill tiers and glass cannon. That is literally it. So, what is a skill build? Where do we go from here? Where do we draw the line on what is a skill build, what's the DPS build, and then potentially what is a hybrid build? Now, annoyingly, you can put a huge bracket around hybrid build because essentially the bro build and then the build I've just shared can easily be slotted into the hybrid build scenario. But to me, I'm potentially just being old-fashioned here. So, like I said, this is meant to be me being thought-provoking. I'm not trying to throw shade at anyone. But where is the classification of, or can we at least find a classification on, this is a skill build, this is a DPS build, rather than just throwing things in the wind and calling it whatever? For me, the bro build is a skill build. It's a skill build that has some hybrid elements, i.e. being able to utilize the weapon to better effect. We don't need the skill haste, so what else can we put in there? Well, considering the game is all about killing things, crit chance, crit damage is going to be our best bet. Whereas the second build I shared, you could just do so much better just by having a normal DPS build. This is skill tier 6. Skill tier 3 natively, then with future perfect on the weapon, we hit skill tier 6. Is that a skill build? I don't think so. Have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.